future of church planting with structures of a decentralized 3.0 internet is actually very, very exciting. And I think the church needs to embrace that.
We actually had a fight about, I was trying to invite her to church and she really refused, and then she got angry at me, and then I was so passionate too, so I'm like, why don't you come? And
Hello, welcome to episode 1 of the Future Podcast. I'm Tim.
I'm Luke.
And we're just going to be getting together and talking about the future of the church, kind of reimagining what church life could be.
Pumped. Just want to give a shout out to my mum. Not sure who else is listening to this, but my mum, I'm pretty sure she will be. So thanks for the subscribe.
I'll do my best to get my mum to listen to it as well.
Amazing. We're doing this, bro.
Yeah, I'm excited. First podcast, and been dreaming to do this for a long time, and a lot to talk about.
Definitely.
So we are planting a church in 2022 in Brisbane.
Come on.
Looking forward to it. What's it going to look like?
It's incredible. I actually grew up outside of Brisbane in Toowoomba, if you know what that is. T-Bar, for those in the know. And incredible time in T-Bar. But before that, I even grew up in an even smaller town called Warwick, outside of Toowoomba. And so we are country boys at heart. But God has put something, big in our hearts to do something incredible for God in Brisbane.
Yeah, come on. Yeah, and I'm from South Africa originally. Yes, me too, from a very small town.
South Africa.
So, South Africa. I've lost my accent, kind of. It'll come out. And from a small town called Eshowe, and then moved to Australia, to Adelaide, but super pumped to be living in Brisbane. So yeah, the church we're planting is called Future Church. So let's start there with the name. When Luke told me his idea for the name, we were at his house on his balcony, and he mentioned, I was like, what kind of name ideas do you have? And he said, Future Church. And when I first heard it, I thought, wow, that's a little, I didn't say this. I thought that's a little arrogant. The Future Church. I think there's probably a big difference between the Future Church and Future Church. But once you kind of explained the name to me and the meaning behind the name, I was on board and super pumped. So could you just talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the Future Church definitely does not mean like we are the future. Like I am the future, come follow me. I've never had that kind of attitude of, competition, I guess. Like, we want to be better than anyone or thinking we're better than other people. The church, we got to work together. And I think the future of the church is collaborative. So it's definitely not about us being the future, but probably what it more is actually a challenge to myself and a challenge to our team. That if we're called the Future Church, we've got to continually look forwards. We can't be stuck in what we've always done. And it's a challenge to me that, every time I see the name of our church, I have to start thinking forwards. I have to start thinking progress, innovation, next generation, unreached people, church planting. It's a reminder of me that there's still so much work to do. The future is good, and we fundamentally really believe in the next generation that they're going to lead an incredible church, that the future is going to be so much brighter than where we've come from. Even though we love where we've come from, we're definitely standing on the shoulders of giants, but the church needs to change. And every generation feels like revolutionaries. We know that. Thomas Jefferson said that. Every generation needs a revolution. But every generation needs to reimagine the church, reimagine the future of what it looks like. Not the gospel, because that's not changing. But how are we going to organize? How are we going to do things together? What does the church of the future look like? And we're just really excited to reimagine that and to make some changes in some ways, but really dig into our roots in other ways.
Yeah, I love it. And just hearing that story, that just got me on board. That's what I'm all about as well. And just like sowing into the next generation and seeing them rise up. That's just what an exciting vision, So I guess let's just talk a bit about that. What do you see some big things? I mean, we've got a lot more episodes to do for the podcast, but what do you see some big changes in the church? And like you said, we're not throwing out everything, and we're standing on the shoulders of many amazing people that built the church. And took us to this level, but I guess it's now our chance for the next season. But what do you see as the future of the church? Some big things, some important things for us?
Yeah, well, I think that's a great question, man. And I think that the world is changing. It's not just the church that's changing. It's the whole of society is changing. And I remember reading Peter Drucker's book on management, as a young pastor, that was written like 50 years ago, and him talking about the concepts of centralized power and decentralized power, and how over these centuries in the world and in the Christian faith, we've gone through times and periods of centralized power where we had big institutions, big monopolies of power that really did dominate and sometimes control and even manipulate a lot of people through their centralized power. A few people very good, and then a lot of people really without access to making a difference. And what I'm pretty excited about right now is there's a real move away from that. There's a move back to decentralizing that power and that ability to be able to reach people with the gospel. And I'm really excited about that. We're seeing this right now in economics. Crypto is changing the world. It probably continually will if we keep believing the right people. I'm not sure. I've got a little bit of crypto. You on the crypto yet?
No crypto at the moment, but definitely interesting.
That's a later episode, guys.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk about that more.
But I'm more excited about the technology behind that being the smart contracts, about NFTs being the future of ticketing, or the future of community fundraising, the future of church planting with structures of a decentralized 3.0 internet is actually very, very exciting. And I think the church needs to embrace that. Many times in history, we have been guilty of lagging behind in just change. We've been guilty of that. We all have, guys. This is not pointing any fingers, except for at myself. And we need to continually innovate in a world that it has an open market. We're about to step into a blue ocean strategy. We're about to step into a blue ocean opportunity that has so much opportunity for the average person. I mean, look at what we're doing right now. Like, who knows? There's probably like 5 to 10 people listening to this right now. We're reaching a huge audience. We're in our living room. Anything is possible here. That wasn't possible just a number of years ago, but it is now. In many different ways, education is completely changing from universities being the central power dominating education. That is changing, and it will continue to change. Our children will probably go to school in a very different environment in 10 to 15 years' time with options. I think that's really exciting. And I just think the church of the future is going to be decentralized in many ways that we cannot see right now, but we need to prepare for. And I think big picture, what that means is more people following Jesus and less people just following a pastor or following a brand of a church or following a denomination, but more people empowered to follow Jesus and really make a difference in their world. And I am fired up for that, fired up for it.
Yeah, that sounds like how I read the Gospels.
Right.
It wasn't like these big gatherings, but it was these in Jesus with people in people's homes, and obviously it had to go beyond that to reach the world. But I just, when I read the Gospel, that's what I feel.
Yeah.
That's how the church was. It's very communal, and I love that we can empower leaders, like empower more leaders and more people to go out and do things.
Definitely. Sure. That's the way I read the book of Acts. And, a lot of things are shaking right now. And I actually think it's a good thing that a lot of things are getting shaken right now in our culture, not just in the church, but in society. Our financial systems, our political systems are absolutely failing all over the world, especially our political camps. They don't make sense anymore. We're trying to build things on things that made sense 50 years ago, but they don't make sense now. And the whole world is in a bit of a shaking. you know, and I think Christians have become passionate about some of these things, and maybe we've lost some of that passion. We've lost the focus on the biggest cause and the highest calling of following Jesus, the Great Commission, the gospel. And we need to come back to that, and we need to let go of some of those other things and really get back to the fundamentals of following Jesus. And that's what I'm excited about. The gospel is the thing that's not shaking right now.
Yeah.
I know some people are trying to deconstruct the gospel. The gospel is the thing that's definitely not changing. It's just so solid. What Jesus has done for you is so strong and so confident. That's the thing I can build my life on. Everything else can shake, but that thing won't ever change. And so I think a lot of people are getting back to that. I want to follow Jesus, and that is a great thing. And we want to build a church around that concept of I'm going to follow Jesus. Every person can have a relationship with Jesus, in increasing manner. So yeah, I'm excited about it.
Hi, this is Izumi Kennedy, and this is...
Hi, I'm Kazue.
Yeah, I still remember you coming to our church back then as a university student, and good times. And
That's like 12 years ago?
that was already 12
13.
years ago, wow. So, yeah, and you were part of my Connect group, and I was really excited about you, like really on fire for Jesus, and always passionate about for new people. You always had a heart to share about Jesus to the people who don't know about Jesus yet, because in Japan there's so many people who don't know about Jesus. So
Yeah.
so that's
True.
been part of your like passion, I guess, to reach out to new people.
Yeah, I've always loved like inviting my friends to church, because this church was really like a amazing church to invite your friends. So I was always telling my friends about church and Jesus and the Bible. And actually one of my two of my best friends at uni got saved in this church. And that's like one of the best stories about my friends. And
Yeah, I remember back then Kazue used to bring every week someone from our university, and one of her friends was really against, wasn't she against Christianity at the beginning? Like Kazue kept inviting her, but she kept saying, no, I don't want to go. And she was pretty straightforward, but I was really amazed that Kazue never gave up, and she kept inviting her for events, Christmas production. When was the time she finally came to church? Do you remember?
Yeah, so I kept on inviting these two friends, and one of them was against church, and she took ages to come, maybe for a year or something. And the other friend came, and then she stopped coming. And then the one who was against church started coming, and we actually had a fight about, like, I was trying to invite her to church, and she really refused, and then she got angry at me, and I was so passionate too, so I'm like, why don't you come? And then she finally came, and one of the Christmas events, I think, and yeah, she was really teary, and then she's like, I don't know why I'm crying, but I think I need to know Jesus. And yeah, and she became Christian first, the one who was against church. And then the one who stopped coming on the way, she also came back, and they both became Christians, and they both got baptized. And yeah, that was amazing.
We actually hung out with her a few weeks ago, and she's now mother of 3 and married to a Christian husband, and she's changed so much.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things we love seeing, someone's life getting changed, meeting their life partners, and just Jesus changing them so much. And that's what we want to see in Brisbane too, because like when we are planting church here, like I was thinking, because of this church, people can come to church and then meet God, and then their lives getting changed. So if we plant a church in Brisbane, we can see more people coming, and through that we can see the whole family being blessed. and that's what really excites us. And
Yeah.
In a way, the future church is kind of going back to simplicity. So we like
Right.
the future's almost going back to just making it about Jesus and keeping it simple for people to follow.
Sure.
And that doesn't mean simple doesn't mean easy, and simple doesn't mean stupid. But simple just means the focus, one thing. We're on
Yeah,
Jesus, on mission.
that's right.
Yeah.
It definitely does. And we've come from a background, the last 15 years, we've been planting churches in Asia, right? So you just gave your church, handed over your church
Yep.
after leading for 7 or 8 years.
7 years. Yeah.
So we planted that church.
Planted out of Luke's church in Osaka.
Yep. So this is actually the third church that we're planning together.
Yeah. It's true.
That's right. Osaka, Kobe, and now Brisbane.
Come on.
But we've really just been super focused on reaching people who have never heard of Jesus before for the last 15 years.
Yeah, the way we've grown our churches hasn't been from other people, other Christians joining our churches, because in Japan, there are no other Christians. In
Yeah.
the second most unsaved nation in the world,
Right.
there is no one else. So I think that's really in the core of who we are, is we want to see people who've never had the opportunity to hear the gospel of Jesus. We want to see them come in and hear about Jesus and make the life-changing, or have the opportunity to make that life-changing decision for themselves.
Right.
So it really is from the core of who we are and what we've been doing for the last 15 years.
And that has forced us to really think differently and start innovating, hasn't it?
Oh, definitely.
Like when you don't know the culture, when you don't know the people, when you don't know how, even language. I mean, we came with no Japanese.
Yeah, my Japanese still isn't very good.
Yeah, mine either. Yours is better than mine. But that has been a blessing because we've had to think differently. How do we build a church in the biggest cities in the world when no one's heard of Jesus before? It has forced us to think. And I just think this innovative way of thinking is just really part of who we are. And it's really driven by how to get more people to know Jesus. That's really where creativity comes from and innovation comes from. It comes from mission. It doesn't come from, I want things to be more comfortable. It comes from mission. How do we get more people to know Jesus? Let's innovate around that. And I think we've got to continually keep on pushing. It's easy to get comfortable. Really, it is. Like when you have everything you need, and in your church, people, we love each other and I got great friends. I don't need any more friends. At that point, it's very easy to turn inward focus. But our whole life has been outward focus. We have to keep pushing outwards because, if we don't go and share the gospel, people will never hear it. And I think there's a new generation in Australia coming up that don't know the gospel, that don't know anything about Jesus. And we're excited to come back. I feel like God's bringing us back now for this very moment of to reach that next generation. So that's why we're back, man.
Yeah, that's true. That's it. And I guess the way I see it, talking about the future, it's not so much, we're not changing the gospel, of course, that never changes, but the way we deliver it, I guess the thing is, it's where people are now is different to where they were 15, 20, 30 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So like when we came to Japan, we didn't have any friends, so we just literally went onto the street and played music. And we tried handing out flyers. Nobody wanted it. But it wasn't until we played music and actually made friendship that we discovered, people are open. People want to hear about Jesus. And I think the future is that as well. Like people are now online or wherever they're at, and people want it, but they still need community. And the future is about, meeting people where they're at in this new generation. Like what are they on, whatever that means. And then, but still delivering a real community that would have been like what Jesus had.
Right. I love this scripture in Hebrews 12, verse, I think it's 26 because it's in the Message, but I love this verse. It says, one last shaking from top to bottom, stem to stern. Sounds like what's happening in our culture right now, a real shaking up of things. The phrase one last shaking means a thorough house cleaning. Decluttering, getting rid of a lot of things that maybe we shouldn't have never had in the beginning that we bought because they were on sale. And it was the latest church trend, so we bought it, but it didn't really help us, distracted us from reaching people, getting rid of it all. And just going back to, let me get back to the verse, sorry. Get rid of all the historical and religious junk. All of the pomp and pious, all of the gap, I would say, the man of God syndrome, the celebrity culture, the green room culture. Let's just get rid of it all. And I'm talking to myself. I'm preaching to myself here, guys. Get rid of it all and get back to the gospel. Get back to knowing Jesus and building great communities. Because it says, so that the unshakable essentials stand clear and uncluttered. We want Jesus to be in plain view. Because Jesus is the best thing we have as the Christian message. We don't have much else. We have Jesus. Because I'm not that great. We're not that perfect, right? But we got Jesus. And if we put Jesus front and center, then we got a good shot at reaching people, guys. So I think we've got to get rid of a lot of things that don't point to Jesus, maybe point to ourselves or our following or our branding or whatever else. Branding is only important in so much as it helps people meet Jesus. Anything beyond that, it becomes weird. So, I mean, you were sharing that great verse there from John chapter 1. I love that verse.
Yeah.
Something very similar.
Yeah, this is kind of my calling as well, is why I want to be in Brisbane, but it's in John 1 verse 23, and it's John just quoting Isaiah, and he's saying, I am the voice of the one in the wilderness. I'm making the way straight for the Lord. And I just love that picture. That's what our role is as pastors or Christians in the church. Like, we're obviously not the man of God, or we're not Jesus, but we're pointing towards Jesus, and everything that we do, it's pointing towards something greater than we are. And I think that's a great just way to live life. And I think that's what, when we talk about the future church, that's what the future of the church is about, pointing to Jesus less than we point to this person or putting our faith in this money finance thing. And it's what's humanity has done since humanity began. We've always put our faith and tried to be God and tried to put our faith in other things, but it's never worked out. So it is really, it's new and novel, but also it is old and ancient at the same time. Just keeping the main thing, which is Jesus.
It's true. It's not all about you, Tim, but you are huge. You are tall. You're about 7 foot.
No, it's because I've lived in Japan for the last. It's just contrast. I think.
I've actually felt normal in Japan the last 15 years. I'm not looking forward to that context, going back and just being short again. So, yeah.
I think you'll be all right. How tall are you?
I'm 170, depends who you ask, but I'm 174 on my driver's license. Let's go with that.
In the high heels? I think that's probably...
Yeah, and my cowboy boots.
That's all good.
So preaching is I think this is a great example when it comes to preaching. Preaching is not all about me. And one of the things that's changing is when we talk about decentralization is we've had just such a huge focus and pressure around Sundays need to fulfill everything. Sunday is so important that it must fulfill everything in everyone's life. And that model, I think, has been slowly fading for the last 20 years because people are coming less and less on Sundays. What was committed 20 years ago was every week or maybe twice on Sundays. What people are calling committed now is once a month. Now we know that's not true. That's not a measure of commitment. We've got to get different measurements. Success in the future does not look like how many bums are on the seats on Sundays. It has to go beyond that. I think we all realize that's not the measure that we need to go for in the future. There's many more important things to that. Now, Sunday, coming to church, gathering, worshiping with people is absolutely important and vital. We're not throwing out the baby with the bathwater here at all. But it can't be our only measure. We have to go deeper than that. I'm excited to hear people talking about discipleship again, and we're going to talk about that in a future episode, about the change in discipleship, which is a good thing, moving from a little bit heavy-handed to more grace-based discipleship. But actually getting back to that, teaching people how to follow Jesus. Well, isn't that an amazing idea? But getting back to that, I think it's very, very important. But as a preacher, when we live in that model of Sunday world, which I have done, of course, there really is a lot of pressure on preachers, guys. There's a lot of pressure on preachers to be everything, because people are not reading the Bible. Then it means I need to be everything. And I'm just so blessed to had led a church the last 15 years where that I never felt that pressure, where I felt because the vast majority of people were reading the Bible, as first generation Christians, were reading the Bible, were taking notes, were actually learning how to be self-feeders from the Word of God, from the Bible, and then did come to Sunday, not like someone in a desert finding a pond of water, but actually someone who's ready to contribute something, to actually come to church to serve or to bless other people is a very different experience than the person who's coming to be a consumer and say, well, what can you offer me? It's a very different experience. And so therefore, as a preacher, I can get up and I can share God's word, and I don't need to be a, whoever you want to name, a famous preacher. I don't need to be that because all I need to be is the pastor, the shepherd who's encouraging the sheep in their ongoing relationship with Jesus. Bringing something from God, bring some direction, bring, whatever it is. But I don't have the pressure to be everything to everyone, which is a blessing.
Yeah, that's so true. And I guess we live in a time when people can listen to the very best preachers in the world,
Right.
But that's not why people join churches. And I think what you said is huge. Like, they have mission. It's about coming to Sunday and bringing contribution. And I think Sunday is a celebration of
Right.
what God is doing in their lives Monday to Saturday.
Right.
And I think that's a big part of what church should be. Church shouldn't be like, oh, this place where it should be a place where people obviously can receive, but it's also a place where people can celebrate and their hearts are full of Jesus if they've been discipled well and have their
Yeah.
own personal relationship.
The problem is if that's the only place you're receiving,
Yes.
then we're in trouble.
Mm.
The word church, someone sat at my dinner table the other night and asked me, what is church? That's the kind of questions we get here. What is church? And I said to him, there's two concepts with the church. One is community, okay? But honestly, you can get community in a lot of places. Church is really good at it and set up well for it, but you can get it in a lot of places. We do jiu-jitsu, and the jiu-jitsu community is like really good community.
Yeah, I mean, it's the best cult I've ever been in.
Yeah, Gracie Baja, it's a kind of a cult, but a non-religious cult, so it's okay. And then the other part of it is mission. It's mission. It's not just community, guys. It's community with mission. We're coming together for a purpose. There's a purpose for this, and it's the Great Commission, and that is what Jesus said: go into all the world, preach the gospel, baptize people, in the name of the Father, Son, teaching them to obey everything I've commanded you, and I'm going to be with you in that process. Jesus loves this process. He loves church planning. He loves what we're doing right now. This sense of doing it together, being on mission together, that is a great picture of the church. And mission's going to look all different in all different stages of life. I get that. But I'm just so thankful to be with you, bro. Planning church with some of our best friends is just a dream come true.
Totally. That's what I've always wanted to be a part of. And just so much vision. Just so much vision, so much excitement for something not revolutionary, but something fresh and just something based on Jesus. And that is the goal and that is the vision there.
Right.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, we got so much more to say over
yes.
the coming weeks. We're going to be sharing. We're going to be going through some of the book content that we are going to release about the future of the church.
Yeah.
And we're going to, discussing around some of the chapters and some of the content in that book. And can't wait to share that with you guys.
Yeah. Dig a little deeper. But really looking forward to seeing you all in the next episode.
How can people connect with you?
I'm on Instagram at Tim U Evans. And if you want to connect with the church, you can go to futurechurch.io, as well as there's an app that you can download. And through there, you can send us a message. If we got interest meetings happening online, which we'd love you to jump into, so there'll be also updates there that you can find out. How about yourself, Luke?
Definitely. Just Luke Kennedy. I'm on Instagram and
No Twitter, no TikTok.
no, but we should start.
If you want
I'd like to see you dance on TikTok. That'd be awesome.
I'm online. Okay, we'll see. We'll see what we can do.
See you guys in the next episode.